What's going on, everybody? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by I Love Growing Marijuana. Because if you need cannabis seeds or you need nutrients for those cannabis plants, they've got Bergman's all fertilizer set. Those nutrients will take you from the seedling stage to flowering. They've also got a free grower's guide that you can download. So go over to ilovegrowingmarijuana.com, or even better, click on the link in the show notes so they know that we sent you. Also, everyone, don't forget that the really smart guys over at Delta Leaf Labs has the plant DNA sex testing kit that you need. They make it really easy to take a sample of the seedling. You send that off to the lab. A couple of days after they get it, you will know whether you've got a male or a female plant. So go over to deltaleaflabs.com, order your testing kits, and use promo code IMGS10 for 10% off of that order. All right, now let's get started. Well, everyone, this is the In My Grow Show, the podcast dedicated to taking the mystery out of cannabis. I'm your host, Alex, and this is episode number 45, the last show of 2018. Yeah, wow, can you believe it? In a couple of days, it is going to be 2019. This year just kind of flew by for me. So, what are you going to do this coming year? Did you set any goals for yourself? You know, something that you're interested in doing. Doesn't matter if you fail. And failing's not even for real, you know, because the way I see it, you either learn or you succeed. Anyways, for me, this coming year, I plan on writing 2 ebooks. I've never written an ebook before. Let me give it a try. One of them is going to be a cookbook, and it's not going to be cannabis related. Or maybe I should. Maybe I'll put a little thing in there on how to, make canna butter. That's a good idea. I'm going to write that down. But I'm not planning for it to be a cannabis cookbook. It's just some of the quick recipes that I use. My go-to recipes when I have to, throw dinner together. Now, some of you are probably surprised, right? You're probably thinking, wow, I didn't know Alex was such a foodie that he can put together a cookbook. I'm not. Like I said, these are my go-to recipes. I'm lucky if I can remember what I had for dinner 2 days ago. My wife is the real foodie in the house. She's a great chef because she's got no fear in the kitchen. And it's really funny because when I told my wife this, that I'm, going to write a cookbook this coming year, she looked at me and she said, but you don't cook. And you're missing the point. There's a difference between not cooking and not being able to cook. I know how to cook. Anyways, I'm getting off the rails here a little bit. Point being, yes, I am going to write a cookbook this coming year. And I'll keep you updated on how that goes. The other ebook I'm planning on writing is, I'm going to put together one, and I've probably spoken about this before. I just didn't get around to it this year if I had spoken about it. But now I'm really going to commit to it. I'm going to write an ebook about building what I call a veg can, which is something I used to build years ago. It's just a bigger version of what people are making now that I've seen on the internet that are called space buckets. And it's basically, the space bucket is basically like a self-contained grow area that people are making out of 5-gallon plastic buckets like the kind you see at Home Depot. And they'll stack 4 or 5 of them. And they've got a light in there and I think a fan. I've got to look at it more closely. But anyways, a few years ago I built a few of these bigger versions of it, but I used a trash can. So I'm going to write an ebook about how I put one of those together. And once again, I'll update you guys as I go along. That's what I plan on doing, but I guess that's not 2 things, huh? That's just 2 of the same thing. That's not 2 different things. I don't know what the other goal is. I guess the other one's going to be just tell more cannabis stories. Just feature different people in different areas of cannabis. But here's what I suggest. That whatever you choose to do, tell a couple of people in your life. Not everybody. Just a couple of kind of like close people. Because for me, I've noticed that when I tell a few close people, it helps me be accountable for those projects. Because those people every once in a while ask how those projects are going. Not in a rigid kind of, get to work, you lazy bum kind of way, but just, truly curious about how that's going. And I either tell them it's going really well or, I've hit a wall, could they help me figure it out? Just something. But I've noticed that works for me, and I'm a really private, kind of guarded kind of guy. So I know what it's like to kind of try to keep everything secret. But like I said, for me, that works, is to tell a few people and they help me kind of stay on track. So every once in a while, yeah, you guys can come back and ask me how those projects are going. And as always, in 2019, you can send emails to inmygrow@gmail.com, or you can find me on Instagram at inmygrow. So now, we just had Christmas. I hope everybody's Christmas went awesome. Mine was great. Spent a lot of time with family. I hope everyone got or gave everything they wanted to. Me personally, I got pretty excited. I picked up a new microphone. That's what I'm using now. We're going to see how that works out. It is the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 USB Cardiodynamic USB XLR microphone. Now, I got this microphone for two reasons. One, because Pat Flynn, whom I listen to his podcast, uses this microphone and he recommended it. Two, because it is both a XLR, which means it's got that thicker microphone cord that I can use straight into my recording device, my Tascam DR40. And it also takes a USB cord that I can just plug right into my computer. So far it seems to be working pretty well. It came with this little tripod stand, a mic cord, and the USB cord. And I think the sound is a little more crisp, more focused. So that was a Merry Christmas to me, was getting this microphone. I want to thank everyone for your financial support because those funds helped me buy this microphone. Now moving on, I want to give a quick word about fabric pots. I was talking to my buddy Andrew, and I don't know if I mentioned this or not. I've started to use fabric pots recently again. And I wanted to remind everyone, if you're going to use fabric pots indoor, that you need to figure out a way to raise them up off the ground, like on some kind of vent or grate, because you want that air to circulate also underneath it. Because if you don't, what might wind up happening is that the water is going to start to pool at the bottom of that fabric pot. And it's going to be harder for the air to circulate, which is, basically the benefits of the fabric pot is that air circulating around to the root zone. That water pooling, because it's fabric, it could lead to like algae growing on the pot. You get fungus. Could lead to, just root disease and just, creating an environment also for pests that really want to hang out. So if you're using those fabric pots indoors, just get them off the ground so there's air circulating underneath them also. That's really what you want to focus on, is the air circulating all the way around. All right, and now let's move on to the strain of the week. And I'm going to give it up to the Cinderella 99, otherwise known as Cindy or C99. And this was created by Mr. Soul, another really good breeder, from Brother Grimm Seeds. I really like the Cinderella 99. It's a nice heavy hitter. It doesn't take me a lot to get to the level that I like to be at. And I'm really chatty just after I smoke it. And let's see, Mr. Soul tells the story that Cinderella 99 was created using seeds that he had bought in Amsterdam at a coffee shop of Jack Hara from the Ceci Seed Company. There you go. So if you see the Cinderella 99 out there, pick it up. Or buy yourself some seeds and grow your own. Even better. Alright, I had to unexpectedly push pause to change some batteries and some equipment, but I'm back. Where was I? Oh yeah, okay, so if you know me, you know that I'm a huge believer in the idea of patenting cannabis plant genetics. I truly do believe that it's one of the few tools we're going to have in order to keep our favorite varieties of cannabis from being locked away in some corporate vault. I think that the more of those varieties that we, the cannabis community, can lay claim to legally, the better chance we're going to have at hanging on to this lifestyle, to this culture of freely using those cannabis varieties to make new ones. So I was over at Strainly, and if you don't know what Strainly is, it's like a social media platform for cannabis, since other platforms like Instagram and Facebook have been shutting down cannabis-related profiles. People got together and put up Strainly. Anyways, I was over there reading some of their blog posts, and the one that I was taking a look at is called Open Source Cannabis Breeding Part 2, and I was excited to read that someone has actually put together an open source seed license for cannabis. And what it basically does is, one, it says anyone may freely use open source seeds, that is, grow, propagate, develop it further, and use it for breeding. In addition, the seeds and its developments may be transferred under existing laws, whether sold, exchanged, or given away. 2. No one, however, may privatize the seed and its developments. The license exclude patents and plant variety protection. And 3. Each recipient assigns the same rights and obligations to prospective users of the seed and its further development. It goes on to say approved varietals become freed seeds as opposed to free seeds. The varietal is freed with respect to use, but not free in price. Which basically what they're saying is, you can buy a seed from me that I made and cross it with another seed that somebody else made and come up with a whole new variety of cannabis. And you can sell that cannabis or that seed, but what you can't do is patent that new seed that you made using my genetic work. Okay, the deal is, if you use my genetic work to make a new seed, you can't patent that. You can sell that new seed as much as you want, but you can't lay claim to those genetics because it wasn't just you who worked on it. So I think that's an awesome idea, and I think that's a great way for us, like I said, to keep these genetics that we truly love, these variations of cannabis that we love, the sour diesel, the Durban poison. If we want to keep them open and free for all of us to experiment with and grow and grow something different with, then this is the type of model I think we should be using. I love this idea. Like I said, go over to strainly.io to read all the details about this idea. And now for the report from the Cannabis Frontline. In case you didn't know, Thailand has just legalized cannabis for medical use and research. That's a big deal. Thailand becomes the first Southeast Asian country to legalize cannabis medically. I think South Korea has been talking about doing it, or they changed their laws a little bit. I haven't looked too deeply into South Korea yet. Now, this isn't really a big surprise with Thailand. They had a vote come up about the medical marijuana program that passed really easy through their government. So like I said, this really wasn't that much of a surprise. So congratulations to the people of Thailand. You know, and hopefully this kind of helps soften the opinion of people in that region of the world about cannabis. Next, a little closer to home, California starts its Phase 3 testing on December 31st. And this is going to require all harvested cannabis and marijuana products to be tested for heavy metals, which include cadmium, lead, arsenic, and mercury, and mycotoxins, or toxins created by mold. Products whose labels make terpene claims will also be subject to terpenoid tests, and solid and semi-solid edibles and inhaled cannabis products will be subject to water activity tests to measure the amount of available water in them. But there are big concerns in the industry. For one, the number of labs. 2, the cost of the new testings. And 3, the problems with the tests themselves. I got most of this information from Marijuana Business Daily. Alright, let's first talk about the testing labs. According to state data, there are thousands of licensed cannabis cultivators, producers, and product manufacturers in California, and only 52 licensed laboratories. Only 14 of those laboratories confirm they are currently offering Phase 3 compliancy testing. That's going to be a problem because only 14 labs statewide for thousands of companies. Ooh. And the big reason for the rest of those labs not being compliant is the cost, mostly the cost of new equipment. It says here the price for an inductive coupled plasma mass spectrometer unit used to perform the heavy metal tests costs about $250,000. That's $250,000 for just a piece of equipment. After that, you need to find qualified people who are trained to work on that equipment. You know what I mean? That's just not something you can grab somebody from behind the counter and say, hey, I got 10 minutes to show you this. No way, man. You need someone who knows what they're doing. And then on the other side of that, the cost of testing for flower will increase more than 55%. From $565 to $890 per 50-pound batches. Those costs add up And I have a feeling all of this extra cost is going to be pushed onto the market, onto the consumer, which makes me think that cannabis products going forward in this next year are going to be more expensive now in those dispensaries. They're already pretty expensive. They're going to be even more expensive now. And they're going to make black market products look a lot more attractive to people. So that's something we really need to think about. As far as the problems with those new tests coming out, well, it's not really a problem with the new test. It's a problem with some of the products themselves. For instance, cannabis oil cartridges that are metal plated instead of actual metal wind up leaching those metals into the cannabis oil themselves. And on top of that, if your product fails a test, you can't appeal it. It fails, that's it. It's got to be destroyed. So these are just some of the regulations that go into effect tomorrow. And that's why a lot of people in the cannabis industry out here are just going nuts. So I feel for you guys, man. I hope you guys get it together and figure it out. And that's the report from the Cannabis Front Line. All right, I'm going to take a short break. And when I come back, I'm going to play a conversation that I recorded with Seana-Marie and Ceci from Mary Jane Networking Services. And what they do is they basically hold your hand and walk you through the process of getting your cannabis business license out here in California. So hang tight. I'm going to take a break, play some music, and then I'm going to have that conversation for you. Well, everyone, as I promised, I have with me Seana-Marie and Ceci from Mary Jane Networking Services. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you.
First of all, Mary Jane Networking Services, now if I understand it, is a service that helps people get their licensing for their cannabis business?
Yes, Mary Jane Services Network actually helps people who are interested to becoming licensed in any industry in the cannabis world to be able to, we help them gather all the documents and all the paperwork that they need to apply for the license. We just make sure that when they submit to local jurisdiction as well as the 3 different state entities, that they have everything in order in the proper format that the state agencies or the local jurisdiction wants. So we help them gather their documents. We can't say necessarily that we get them licensed unless you want to put that a different way. We help them create all the documents to make sure that they're doing the proper package to apply for the license.
Right. So creating the documents, helping organize them, and each department, local or state, they have regulations and requirements, and they language it differently, and they need it in this certain order, and there's just a lot that is required. And so we help get that all in order.
So you guys said there's 3 different agencies?
Mm-hmm. For the state.
The state, yes. There's the California Department of Food and Agriculture, CDFA, who license cultivators.
Through their Cal Cannabis department.
Through the Cal Cannabis division.
That's right.
And then there's the Bureau of Cannabis Control, who licenses distributors and transportation companies. And then there is the CDPH, who licenses manufacturers and testing laboratories.
Right.
And CDPH stands for the California Department of Public Health. So depending on what part of the industry you're involved in, will designate who you need to apply through.
So if I want to start a company that's totally vertically integrated, I do from seed to processing and sales, I'm dealing with all 3 of those?
Correct.
Yes, plus your local jurisdiction.
Oh, man.
And if you're going to retail and dispensary, that's also through the Bureaus of Cannabis Control, BCC also.
Did the state put any kind of cap on any of types of businesses as far as how many businesses the state will allow? Like, let's say, for example, how many dispensaries the state's going to allow? Or are they just going to
It goes city by city.
It goes city by city what they're going to allow. But the state said, as far as the state's concerned, they don't care. The market's going to bear what it's going to bear.
Yes, but the state has to still come back to the city because you have to get licensed through the city first. So if the city has a cap before you apply to the state, then and they say no, then you're not going to go for state processing anyway.
You're looking for a new town.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to get local authorization first. So that's just a whole nother, again, department for your city and their regulations and the way they need the documents and everything you need to create for that.
And each city also has their own county laws,
That's
regulations, and ordinances as well. So we have to be knowledgeable about all those laws, regulations, and ordinances by city, by county, and by state.
And they're changing all the time now. It's like the departments are learning as they go also. One positive of that is that company owners and lawyers and everyone who's involved can help influence how those are changing. But it is also very convoluted and confusing and something that you need to stay abreast of at all times.
Yeah, no, I bet, especially with the new year coming, new regulations, because a lot of stuff is going to change as far as I understand it.
Yes.
But before we get too far into it, we were talking earlier, and I want you guys to tell how you guys came to cannabis. What you looked around the landscape and said, you know what, these things are needed. How did that work for both of you?
Well, for myself, I started in promotions and marketing in the cannabis industry with one particular client, and then I saw a need for more than an executive assistant for these business people in the industry. They needed somebody that was knowledgeable about the laws and the ordinances and the regulations, both local and state level, to make sure that the paperwork that they were putting together to apply for their license was complete and it was accurate. And as Ceci mentioned, that it provided all the language that these different entities were requesting. So I got involved because I was completely intrigued by the industry. And also, it was really important to me from a medicinal standpoint that cannabis be available to everybody who wants to use it as a healing remedy, because I had an uncle who was diagnosed with, he had liver challenges and a failing liver, and he was on a waiting list to get a new liver. And when the liver became available for him, before they did the surgery at UCLA, they did a test on his body and found cannabis in his system, of which he had a prescription for a doctor to use for his nausea and because of all the drugs he was taking. But since they found the cannabis in his system, they denied him the liver and they let him die.
Wow, so he was a patient? He was a cannabis patient, and he was a cannabis
Was it a
national patient. I'm sorry, was it a national list, or was it just a list from California? I wonder why
I don't know the answer to that question, where the list. I think it was a California list.
That's terrible.
But yeah, and that's all he needed. And otherwise his body was fine. And he wasn't a heavy cannabis user. He was just taking what he needed to take to get through the nausea and the pain and whatnot, till he got his new liver. Because once he got the new liver, he was going to be fine. But since they found drugs, so-called drugs in the system at the
Schedule
time,
1 drug, yeah.
So they denied him the liver, and there was nothing we could do. And maybe there was something we do, but this was maybe 10 years ago. So we don't know what our power was then versus what we know. So as far as from a medicinal standpoint, it's a very, very, very beneficial product. And it's a very, very beneficial yerba buena. I mean, that's how we grew up.
Yeah.
And that's what we know it as. And I see my mom with, a little bit of arthritis creeping in at 76 years old, for her to spray it, do a little tincture or a little ointment, and be healed it's pretty nice, because I know she's not taking anything that's going to have any side effects. It's not going to have any long-term detriment to her body or any of her organs. She's taking something natural. And I think everybody needs to have access to that. So that was my original reason for getting involved and getting intrigued. Besides the curiosity, that's where my heart space comes from.
And so just highly passionate about the legality. So that's one step. But now to get everyone licensed so that they can actually do it legally, right? And be compliant and get everyone basically out of the shadows and into the light.
That's the big step, is to bring it out into the light, because a lot of it still lies in illegality. We're talking about a part of the community that is used to being in the shadows. Mm-hmm. Whether it was when medical in California came online and everybody was, making space cake because they were a medical patient, to now trying to figure out, okay, how do I switch to transition over from me just making edibles for my friends to actually having a business? Because while, and I'm sure you ladies can talk about this more, I mean, the importance of, while it's okay, you may be able to make a little bit of money doing it black market, or at least in the gray market, there's still a lot of benefits to getting your company licensed. And I don't know if it's how banking works out, if you guys can talk about that as far as getting capital for a company.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think, from our experience, our clients have saved money and they've earned money, and they've got to a point where they are doing it on their own. But as far as financing, it's private financing. As far as I don't know of any other banks. It's not really something that I can really speak to, but I just personally at this point don't know banks that are doing loans. I think it's business to business people.
There's got to be a way to access that money.
Yeah, I think at one point there will be. Yeah. But just like it's just going to be an evolution. I think that when we do this interview again in a year, we'll be having such a completely different conversation. Because if we even had this interview a year ago, we would have been having a completely different conversation.
In just the way it's changed in the last 12 months. It's pretty amazing. Everybody says it's amazing. It's just gone really fast. It's gone really far, really fast. And we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. This isn't even what a mature industry looks like yet.
No, we're just
this is still, I mean, we're just getting next year. In 2019, we get, phase 3, like we were talking about, phase 3 testing, and then maybe mid-year we get every regulation solidified.
Mm-hmm. We're not even in beta yet. There's,
it's going to be a lot different. There's going to be a lot of growing pains, though, because, those new regulations and that phase 3 and what the state's looking for, it's going to be a trip to see how many companies really do stay alive.
And keep sustained. It's true. And so it's not, that's the thing. It's one challenge to get your initial licenses, but to also stay compliant, because you need to apply every year. It's an annual license.
Really?
You're actually starting with temporary licenses, then annual licenses, and then, so it's not just get your license and then,
so every license you pull has to be renewed every year? It's not like a 5-year license. Hey.
No, right now it's annual. So it's not just, try to get your license and get cleared and then just coast. You have to stay on it. It's highly regulated, but for good reason. And just speaking to your point, it will be interesting to see who sustains.
Yeah, who's left over in a year.
Because there's a big gold rush right now, too. And everyone's like, maybe cultivators are just like, we're just going to learn to grow and grow. But it's not just a formula. We know that this is a plant, and people who have the best relationship with their plants that would be, for me, in my perspective, the first thing to be sustainable, and then, of course, staying compliant.
It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see who's actually still left standing. And this is before really big business comes in. Well, they're already here before they really get a foothold.
Yes, it's so true.
Because big money's already here. They're just wondering what it's going to look like, what their piece is going to look like.
And that's why we also want to support, our clients who, it's not big industry business right now. We want to help them be strong to be the leaders in the market right now.
Even if they're small businesses.
Exactly.
Some of our cultivators are just under 5,000 square feet. They're not huge. And some of them, we've got some that are over 20,000 square feet. And that's a bigger business. But big businesses make mistakes just like little businesses make mistakes. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping that, obviously we're root tootin' for the big guys because to be successful, but we're especially root tootin' for the small businesses, because that's who they've always been. They've always been that little cultivator or that little delivery company or that little manufacturer.
They know what they're doing. They've been, cultivating, they've been growing, and what they've been making for years now. So
let's talk about the smaller businesses. So a lot of that, from how I see it, from how I understand it, is a lot of these really talented small cultivators are really going to have to lean hard on their branding to compete in this industry. Because if you can't outsize them, if you can't be bigger than the really big guys, you're going to have to, lean on your branding, on brand recognition a lot.
Yeah, and quality product. because
yeah, of course.
because there's going to be cultivators out there that like Cece said that just go through the motion, that don't have a relationship with the plant, that don't really understand all the benefits and how to really cultivate. Because a lot of people can grow a plant, but can you grow a really, really good plant with all the benefits and all the quality in product that you need? And then where does your product go from there? If you're growing flower to grow flower, then you've got to have great flower. But if you're growing flower to become something else, where does your product go? And that's another great thing is it's a strong B2B business, because a cultivator can grow for a manufacturer.
So explain to everybody what B2B is.
Business to business.
Okay.
So a cultivator can have an exclusive with a particular manufacturer. So I just grow Joe Blow's, who's a manufacturer. Jane Doe, I cultivate the flower, but then Joe Blow takes it, and now he turns it into something else because I have a relationship with him. So therefore, myself as a cultivator, I'm not necessarily depending on the retail customer. I'm depending on the manufacturer because they're buying it from me.
And that's another wonderful and exciting part of what's going on in the cannabis industry is, yes, there'll be, as in business, there is competition, but there's also so much that can happen in cooperation and mutual support and B2B, whether it's one product supplying the next or just supporting each other and learning. It's like we're building a whole new industry together. And so I think that's what's really exciting for us too, is that kind of new business model where people grow together, and also being able to serve in a way to provide a network for our clients and businesses. We love to connect different businesses together, even just for our clients. They're specific attorneys, as we've mentioned, or engineers or architects, and they need these third parties to create premises diagrams and other lighting diagrams and different things that we like to pull all those people together and support each other.
Yeah, because competition's good. Competition's good for all businesses,
right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we can exist, or we need to exist in this idea of famine, that there isn't enough for everybody.
Oh yeah.
Because then we truly do start getting in each other's way, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So now, on the smaller cultivator side, what do you guys know, or what can you tell me about white labeling products? Like, can a cultivator white label their product? Like, just cultivate it, let somebody else put their label on it?
So, like private labeling.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
If the product is tested appropriately and the cultivator has the product tested and it states on the label what is in the packaging. As far as the labeling laws go, I know that they just changed because this is a discussion on a panel talk that I just attended.
Uh-huh.
And so as of January 1, I'm not real clear as to whether private label is available initially or it's a second step in the testing process. I'm not real clear on that.
So I'm wondering if I can go just start my own label. What do I need to start my own label if I'm not cultivating? Can I just, like you said, go business to business, get a cultivator, say, hey, I need you, if you're a legal cultivator, to, I don't know, grow 100 pounds for me a year so I can put my own label on it?
So then you'd want to distribute it?
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so then you would go and get your distributor's license.
Oh, but I wouldn't have to do anything as far as the cultivation side. That's his problem. He's got to come up with his own. Me, I'm just here for the distribution side.
Right. So then if you're going to buy product from him and you have your label put on it, then now you're either a distributor, and you might even fall into the category of because the cultivator would do the packaging and the distribution, you would just take the product and move it on.
That's an interesting thing, though. But what about transportation, though? Isn't that a whole separate license, is transportation?
It depends on the city.
You can be a distributor that doesn't transport, and you can be a distributor that does transport only.
Wait, how do you be a distributor? Okay. Distributor who doesn't okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on the city, so it's not a state thing that I can just pull a distribution license and say I'm going to hold on to someone's product to take it to some other just producer.
It depends, because some counties and some cities won't let you take product over even a county line.
Oh wow. Oh wow, really?
Same thing with delivery. Every city, every county has a different law.
Different set of regulations.
But now, okay, but now as far as delivery goes, that's a different kind of animal, isn't it now? Because they just changed the regulations, didn't they? As far as delivery, you could deliver state.
Well, now delivery is part of retail, so there's transportation with distribution, and then there's delivery connected to retail. And so if you want to do delivery service, you need to get a retail license.
Okay,
because you're actually taking money from the consumer, where a distributor takes product from a cultivator to a manufacturer, or from a cultivator to a dispensary. But you're not dealing with the end user.
I'm fucking glad I know you guys.
We'll come in handy for all that want to get involved in the cannabis industry. I'm telling you. The Mary Jane Services Network.
And even if you want to you were saying, what if I just want to do this, like distribution?
Yeah, what if I just want to stick my label on it?
But what I'm saying is that even if you, quote unquote, just want to do one, it still has a detailed set of regulations. Your premises has to have so many things, and in this place, and it's highly detailed even for just one of the licenses, let alone if you do multiple cannabis activities.
All right. Okay. So let's take a hypothetical. Let's say I'm putting together an edibles company. What is the first thing I need to do legally to start that edibles company? Do I need to worry about whether the city allows what I'm about to do?
That's definitely the first step.
That's the first step.
Even though I'm not going to distribute in that town.
Nope. You're just going to manufacture.
Manufacture.
You need to make sure that your city
and county,
right, authorizes those licenses for that activity.
And then, once they say yes, then you have to find out what areas in the city that you're allowed to.
Right, I get that part. Yeah, okay. Wow.
And then you have to find a landlord that'll let you do such activity in his building without neighbors protesting.
So there's a lot, right? But we don't want to scare anyone. That's why we're here. We're here to help
we're not here to scare anyone. These are the realities.
Yeah, and it's important to know it. But it's also important to know that there's support available.
This is what, everybody has romantic dreams. It's like saying, I want to start a restaurant until you figure out its work. Because everybody's like, I can make spaghetti. Yeah, okay, sure. But, wow, okay. So then something different then.
Okay.
Let's say I want to put on a cannabis event. I find a person who owns a coffee house who has a smoking section out back. Now, I want to put on a private event, not open to anybody, by invitation only. Will I be allowed to have them smoke cannabis out back in the smoking section?
It really starts with the city.
Yeah. Does the city allow consumption of cannabis in a public space?
Well, probably not. But the thing is, there's already a smoking section there, right?
So there still has to be a city. You have to look at the city on it, and then there's also an event license.
Well, wait. Also, California, there's no smoking sections anymore.
Even outside?
No,
but there's smoking
on the premises
within what is it, 20 feet of an entrance to a public building.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So where
where
people are doing cannabis related events or in more open space. Parks. Yeah. We went to an event where they had it in the parking lot of a hotel, and more open space, private open space. It can't be public open space.
But in that parking lot of that hotel, did they allow cannabis consumption?
Initially it was supposed to be a consumption event, but then last minute the police pulled that permission.
I was at that
event. But that was an event permit.
Yeah, I was at that event.
Yes, you
were.
I was disappointed.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I know, we all went there with a whole different intention, didn't we?
There's a lot of people going back to their cars for that event. My weed's wearing off. So then there's that just ruins my whole idea as far as having a cannabis event outdoors and open.
No,
it's happening.
It's happening. We just need to do it at a private property and get a license. A day permit. It's a 1-day event permit or a 2-day, depending on how long your event is.
Okay, but now I'm not that you ladies would know, but how do they differentiate then of me throwing that exact same event at my house?
because it's
Isn't that
it's your house.
Well, your house, I would say that's
Private.
private.
Right,
and
but
You
if-
still have to have a permit. And you can't consume even a private venue can't be within a certain radius to a school.
Oh, yeah,
and
there's
churches
those
and all that.
That would exactly.
and as the crow flies, right? As far as that radius, not on Google Maps, but in a straight line. As far as like 1,000 feet away, it's got to be 1,000 feet in a straight line. Not well on Google Maps. It's 1,500.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you guys are out there. I'm glad you ladies are out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything you guys want to talk about that we didn't talk about?
I think Cece's got all kinds of things in her brain.
Come on, Cece. What do you got? What do you want us to keep an eye on?
I think the most important aspect to the challenges that people may or may not come across in this industry and getting licensed in this industry is to find all the resources that they need. And Mary Jane Services Network, we take pride in the fact that we do provide resources. We are a network of professional vendors and professional service providers that are here to answer all the questions. I just received a huge package in the mail for a couple of ladies that attempted to get licensed in Los Angeles and probably made every mistake that they could possibly. Their mistakes were so grand that they didn't even have any of their documents in digital format. Literally, I had to sign for a package because so therefore they couldn't figure out how to upload the documents. They thought they were going to have to take all this, so they had all this documents printed, and then this particular local agency did not want paper. They wanted everything digitally. So they missed all these deadlines and spent all this money, and up to the tune of, $36,000. And they did it all wrong because they didn't have somebody that would write their standard operating procedures. They didn't have somebody to write all these, and they just tried to figure it all out. And that was a big loss.
And they put all their energy in that instead of running their business.
Right. And they've already been, so what we do is we give business professionals the opportunity to continue to do what you do, which is you're a cultivator, you're a business person, you're a manufacturer, you're whatever you are. Do what you do. Let us dig through your paperwork. Let us help you find the resources you need. Let us be more than your executive assistants. Let us be your go-to person, your go-to team of professional service providers that can help you get together everything that you need. So when we're ready to hit the submit button, all your ducks are in a row, your T's are crossed, and your I's are dotted.
Okay, so then on that, what are the first 3 things you think someone should do when they start to get their license?
The first 3 things in order to start the
Yeah,
process?
just start, get everything digital. What do they need to do? What do we need to do?
Have a consultation with us, pretty much, because we're going to help basically give an outline and checklist to everything that all the information you need to gather and all the documents you need to either gather or have created or have us create.
Oh, it's okay. So when you talk about documents that have to be created, you spoke about daily operations. That's something the state wants to know, how you're going to operate that business daily?
From opening the door through the whole day to locking the door, where you're going to put the trash, how's your water come in? Where do you get your electricity? What is your lighting plan? What is your security? What is your camera diagram? I mean, it goes on and on.
Right,
we started up
pest management.
Yeah, we started off with about a 43-point checklist, and we're at 263 lines on our checklist now. Because when you break down, we break it down because they might not ask for this part today, but we know when we go to annual, we know they're going to ask for it. So we want all this right now. We only need this part and this part and this part out of this huge 160-page document. We only need 30 of those pages today. But when we go to reapply, now they're going to hold us accountable. So they're going to want the rest of those 160.
So that's what you mean by annual. One thing is the next time you go back to pull your license, they're going to see where all these.
Yeah, they're going to.
And you need to update all of those things again. And so there's premises diagrams, security camera diagrams also to be made, and we can help people find the right architects and engineers for those things.
So how much of the floor space has to be on camera in
every inch of it?
Of all cannabis industry?
Oh yeah. So whether it's cannabis or distribution,
every inch of it, you can't have a few feet off that it doesn't kind of crossover. You got to see every employee
Besides,
at all
probably,
times.
probably the only private space is the bathrooms or the only
Right, well, right, well, yeah,
Right.
I would assume
but
that.
even the break
They
rooms.
just, they want to see a diagram with your premises and see where all your cameras are and have them numbered, So we have specialists that do those specific kinds of designs also.
That's crazy, the amount of oversight.
Yeah, well, it's official business.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And it's actually like as much work and detail that goes into it. It's a wonderful, honorable, official business arena.
It's not.
They're taking it seriously, and I think it's about time.
Yeah.
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 It's kind of. I didn't really honestly ever think that I'd be in this position and be in this place in my lifetime. I really didn't think that we would be having this conversation.
It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing.
I have that same conversation with people my age because I'm 45. And a lot of young people don't understand why, because especially if they're raised in California, because, they were raised with a normality, or at least more normal than other places. To where I grew up in Texas, and they'd take away your freedom for 20 years for even growing a plant.
We know that reality here too.
And that's why when I speak to people my age or older, we're all just like, I'm amazed at how fast it has gone. The amount of products, because it's almost like we're catching up with the amount of cannabis products that were on the market before Prohibition started. Because before Prohibition started, cannabis was in everything. Every kind of tincture, whether it was soda, same kind of thing. Chocolate. We're just getting back to that same. It's just amazing.
And now we're building on from there.
Yeah,
it's amazing how it can touch so many parts of our lives, and for everyone, every age group. It's so exciting. It can be beneficial for everyone.
Truly. Ladies, can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yes. So we're Mary Jane Services Network, and our website is mjsn.biz. Simple enough, and on our website there's very detailed information about who we are and what we do. And you can also sign up for more information regarding any entity that you're interested in starting by just emailing us through the website. And our email address is pretty simple, creative@mjsn.biz. And I believe there's actually a information, in direct information, but creative@mjsn.biz is probably the easiest way to reach us.
You guys on social media?
B-I-Z. Yes, on Instagram, MJSNBIZ, Facebook, and Instagram.
Okay.
Well, ladies, thank you very much for talking to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you
so much, Alex.
It was great to chat.
Thank you. Everybody else, I'll be right back. Well, mi gente, my people, I hope that helped you better understand what you need before you start a cannabis business out here in California. Definitely, when you're ready to take that leap and take your business into the legal space out here, get a hold of these ladies out there at Mary Jane Services Network. They will totally hold your hand through the process. Well, everyone, since I've come to the end of my notes, that is the end of the show. Again, I want to thank Seana-Marie and Cecilia for coming on the show. And I also want to thank all the artists who let me use their music to put the show together. Now remember, if you have a question or a comment about this episode, you can email me. That is inmygrow@gmail.com, or find me on Instagram @inmygrow. And don't forget, everyone, if this podcast has educated you, entertained you, or even given you a little escape from your day, and you can help support the show financially, go over to patreon.com/inmygrowshow and leave a donation. Or you can go over to inmygrow.com, click on the support the show tab, and order a t-shirt. Or even easier than that, you can click on the Amazon link in the show notes before you go shopping at Amazon. That'll let them know that we sent you, and the show will get a commission. Real simple and painless. Now, if you can't support the show financially, I get it. Don't worry about it. Here's how you can help. Subscribe to the website, subscribe to the podcast, and tell 3 other people about the show. Real easy. All right, everyone. I want to wish you a happy new year. Have fun. Be safe when you celebrate. I love you all very much. And don't forget to always grow, learn, and teach.
Endless applications. West Coast free the weed. West Coast free the weed. West Coast free the weed. You get to fight or win, but you get to